let's bring on our guest, the absolute GOAT of local Detroit sports, publishing and writing, podcasting. The guy can do it all. He's a Swiss Army knife. Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. The publisher, our good friend, Mr. John Maakaron, the Doc. How we doing, Doc?
Thank you, guys. That was real nice. Yeah, why would I miss? This is a great time. I love Wednesdays. It's a time to check in with the fellas. I thought your guys' interview was great. All right, Booner, I teed you up. I told you guys I was coming in with a bang. Okay, so I woke up this morning and my algorithms are crazy. I don't know what it is that I've been looking up. What kind of things you guys in the chat think I look up in the morning? So I look up and I check Twitter. Booner, please prop up what I came across this morning. And
I don't have it. I didn't know you wanted that on the show, Doc. That was a wild tweet to send me. You didn't even give me context. You just sent me a tweet.
You can't pull up a tweet from your phone or from the computer?
I cannot. You sent me multiple tweets. Which one did you want? Doc? You sent me these with zero context. Oh, no, you did say pull this tweet up after I come in hot.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
You sent it to me while I'm talking to Jason Kabin.
No problem. No problem. Take your time.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
This is a maturity test. Okay, and then we're going to talk about OTAs and all the good things. My job is to get everybody to like this video. I'm going to blow this interview out of the water to make sure everyone reminds everybody that the Doc is a legendary. Okay, now the chat is now looking at this. This is the first thing I see this morning. Okay, and I'm a 46-year-old man who is not mature. So wait, don't wait. Go back up. The key thing here is her name. How do you say her name when you see that? Because I came across that. I woke up my whole family because I'm like, why is Haley McAnally on my computer? Haley McAnally. And I said, wait a minute, that's not what her name can be, right? I read all the comments and I'm like, that's not how her name should be pronounced. And so I messaged her and I said, your name is not Haley McAnally, is it? And she's like, of course not. And she said, it's McConnelly. So if you're awake, and this is a maturity test to start the week, if you read that as Haley McAnally, you are not mature like the Doc, and you're in the wrong group. But that's what came across this morning, and she is a very bright young lady, but she is taken, she is struggling because of that last name. But I came across that. I sent it to my friends, and I said, I am not mature to be doing this in life. And that is where I was at this morning, fellas. So in the chat, you can, share it and test your friends on what you guys think regarding her name, because you guys are laughing.
I can stop laughing in 5 minutes. I don't know.
Doc, hand up, Doc. I read McAnally.
Okay.
I mean, the Doc saying I messaged her might be one of the wildest moves in internet history, to be like, I woke up at 7 a.m. This came across my timeline and I shot her a message.
Exactly.
Your last name McAnally.
Because she did comment on it. She has commented on the fact that people are giving her crap for that last name. So that's how I woke up. I laughed hysterically because I cannot stop saying it. I cannot say it the proper way. I'm immature. That's why I get like 50 grow up messages a week. Now, to transition to OTAs,
let's see this.
Doc. There's no transition from that right now.
Okay, good. I lit it up. Let's go.
Hey, Flair said, I mean, come on, Flair. She's had it right the first time, and it don't matter. She about to have my last name. I mean, guys. Okay. All right, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, no. I listen, give her a follow. I think that she's a quality follow from the 2 minutes I spent checking out her content there, and her maturity and her graduation. It's great. Now, going to transition to OTAs, I could see now why a guy like Stefon Diggs didn't want to go to OTAs. Maybe that's why Alex Anzalone doesn't want to come to Lions OTAs. Booner, the second thing that I sent you as well, did you guys see Stefon Diggs living his best life out there on the boat with Cardi B and the chaos that caused online for the whole world regarding what that pink content was? What was it? People were throwing out names I've never heard of. And I said to myself, why would any veteran show up to OTAs when you can hang out on a boat and party with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 women and have a good time? Why on earth would you show up? If you're Alex Anzalone, why are you have boat parties? I would be like, listen, I would work my tail off my first couple years in the league and be like, I'm not coming to OTAs. I'm having boat parties. And then the funny part is now his new coach, Mike Vrabel. If you're Mike Vrabel, if you get the tweet, Booner, it's funny. Mike Vrabel has to stand there on the first day of OTAs and be like, address the question. Mike, did you see your player kind of hanging out with that pink stuff? And he's like, we encourage all our players to engage in proper behaviors. Meanwhile, there's like 35 ladies having a good time. What is the value of OTAs when you could come and hang out on a boat? I'm looking at it like, if you're Alex Anzalone, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got $30 million a year. I'm like, I'm not coming. I work out. I'm not coming to Detroit. Why would I spend a weekend in Detroit when it's raining on a Wednesday, when you can hang out on a boat in Miami and party like that? You're Stephon Diggs. You're with a new team and you're going to do that. I look at it like, you know what? I want to start hanging out on some boats if that's what goes on, because I'm not a boat guy per se, but I could be transformed into one. I saw, and I thought, now, does anybody in the chat who indulges, what was that pink stuff? Was that the nasty things that people were saying it was? A lot of the content creators were like, it's really bad stuff. Some stuff people were like, it's just this thing. I don't know. That's not in my area of expertise. Now,
that's the Diddy powder. That's what that
is. The Diddy powder. Now, the part that I can't get over in the whole thing is because that could fall into something where I would do it. Not in my current form as a 46-year-old, but if I was an athlete, the part of that video that I broke down the most was, what are you going to call me? And she's looking at what? What do you mean? She's like, he looks at her and he's like, what's my name? And she's sitting there, hemming and hawing. A couple of seconds, she's like, okay, daddy, give me what I need. And I'm sitting there going, yes, watch the video. He's like, call me daddy. And that's what exactly she did. And I was just like, that's what millions and millions will get you. Just Stephon Diggs is daddy in the Mac Daddy world of athletes, and he's not at OTAs. Jesus. So what's really the value? What's really the value of OTAs when veterans are not there? You got look at today to bring it full circle. Myles Garrett's in Japan taking photographs. You got Aaron Rodgers, who supposedly is going to be on a team, teasing where he's going. He's not showing up. So long story short, OTAs are hilarious in regards to the voluntary nature. I think they should be mandatory at this point in time. I think my whole thesis is the non-voluntary nature makes for very fun videos that tend to pop up online where these guys are at instead of OTAs.
Well, Doc, okay, there's a lot to unpack. Let's go back to earlier this week before Stephon Diggs had the Diddy powder, all that stuff. All right, let me ask you about the Lions. They signed Zach Cunningham. It ties into the Alex Anzalone thing because he's a veteran linebacker. He's not this world beater linebacker, Doc. And they cut another linebacker when they signed him. But is there anything to look into? Is it maybe Malcolm? Like Boone brought up Malcolm taking a long time to return, maybe with the ACL injury. What do you make of the signing? And can you clarify that it has nothing to do with maybe Anzalone not being at OTAs?
You guys think Alex Anzalone is holding out and he wants to quit the Lions? Do you guys think that?
I don't think yet. I'm panicking, Doc, but I think as time goes on, if I'm Anzo, I'm not playing on 1 year left. There's no way. I'm not playing on 1 year left. So
okay,
I wouldn't hate him if he did. I wouldn't be mad.
Well, my trusted sources tell me Alex Anzalone was on that boat with Stephon Diggs. And
okay.
I trusted it. If the people don't know, that was a joke.
Okay.
That was a joke from the doc.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. I am not aware of the whereabouts. I did try to get Alex Anzalone to talk to me, but it did not work out today because I do think that people are panicking. Where's Alex? Well, he's probably in Florida, hanging out, working out, doing his thing. And I don't think we're going to expect to see him at Detroit Lions OTAs this Friday. But look, Zach Cunningham, I think, is a guy, low risk signing that has experience with the Eagles and Broncos. Problem is the last couple of years, not the most productive. They're probably taking a flyer on a depth player. But if you can get anything out of him, get anything out of the veteran over 30 years old, he's not a replacement for Alex Anzalone. Anzalone will report to training camp. I would be shocked if Anzalone is a holdout in any capacity. That's the ultimate distraction. That would result in so many articles and YouTube videos and discussions about the disruptions and questions to Dan Campbell. I just think that Cunningham is a safe signing because you guys know Malcolm Rodriguez is a player that is rebounding from a significant injury, and you need some bodies there. Now that is a packed linebacker room, but the more competition, the better. And the Detroit Lions, definitely, you guys know, if they see a player that they think can fit and has an opportunity to maybe even make the team, it's a good signing.
Yeah, Doc, I do want to ask you, because since we've had you on last week, the press conferences happened with some of the players, and especially the biggest one to me that came out of it was the Aiden Hutchinson one, and him coming out and basically saying, "Hey, I've been fully cleared for a little while now. It's not just this week. It's been a little bit." What did you take away from that? And one conversation we had on the show was, even though he's fully cleared, do we feel like the Detroit Lions are going to have him going 100% over the next few weeks? Do you think that they're still going to hold him back a little, let this injury, they no setbacks, things like that? What are your thoughts on the whole Hutch situation right now?
It's good to see him, right? It's good to see him out there. It's good to see him doing individual drills. Definitely everyone caught the attention of him wearing the leg sleeve, but yeah, I do think that his progress will be steady, and no better situation for the 5 weeks off will be taken advantage of than from Aiden Hutchinson. After the 2 weeks of OTAs, then there's a 5-week break that the Lions are going to get, and the players will get to work and have an opportunity to rehab and things like that, and without having to worry about practices. So Dan Campbell did a good thing. He's going to give the full allotment of time off. That will definitely help the players to rebound, relax, get in the books. It's good to see Aiden, right? It's just a good feeling. But the next step is really for him. It's not on the field, it's off the field. It's just going to be about how much is that guy going to get paid? And I can't wait to see the number. Christian has done a couple of articles on Lions on SI to kind of give the range. He thinks it's not going to be 40. He thinks around 37.5. I'm a little bit more in line with Brad Holmes, thinking that, you reward your guys and you just say, hey, 5 years, $200 million, and you make it $40 million. You tie Myles Garrett and you make this guy happy. But also, I'm entertaining those that are messaging and saying, hey, Doc, pump the brakes. Maybe we got to see what he looks like out there on the field first before you allocate that much money. But I just have a hard time, based on what I saw on the field over the last couple of years, thinking that the Lions won't get value out of paying Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's an amazing defensive end. He's the guy that Brad Holmes loves, and that's why he's not getting anybody else, even though everybody here in town wants another defensive end. He's the guy that everybody respects. So I just think you pay him. You lock him up for the next 5 years, and you make him a staple of your defensive line. You build this football team around him.
Doc, I think another interesting storyline that I don't think is being talked about enough right now, and it's kind of the same situation with Aiden Hutchinson, but another player in Derek Barnes. How's his rehab process kind of coming along? And I don't know, I wasn't able to look. Was he out there today? And if he was, how is he kind of looking?
Yeah, well, what's funny is everybody on earth was posting all the photos. We collected all the photos that were put from you guys and everybody else. He was out there, and it's a good sign. It's a very good sign. I think by all accounts, he was expected to make a full recovery and be out there for organized team activities. I think that was the goal. So I do think that hopefully on Friday we'll get a chance to see him move and do his thing. But he was out there. Photo of Derek Barnes, Christian, I believe, tweeted it out there as well, the video. And it's a good sign. I think that the recovery time should be in a spot where he should be available. And it's a good sign because of the fact that Derek Barnes is an emerging leader, an emotional leader. Saw him get into some scraps at training camp last year, and his season was cut short. But if he can continue to develop his ability to rush the passer, he's a guy that you can put on the edge. Is a great Sam linebacker, one of the rare ones on the roster that can kind of do whatever Kelvin Shepherd wants. Can do a couple different things, good and decent as a pass rusher, can get on the line and also do his thing as a linebacker, and is a great tackler. So I would love to see the development of Derek Barnes this year. It'll make the linebacker group even better, along with Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone.
And Doc, Lee McNeil, he was quoted the other day saying that his leg he's going to come back stronger. He's ready to get back. He's fired up about it. when you talk about this, just kind of this defensive line, the interior with Aleem coming back, and in your mind, what do you think would be a fair kind of expectation for Aleem to get back? And then when do you expect, just the opinion, Doc, for him to look like himself? And when he does, what are you expecting out of Aleem McNeil? Now he's gotten paid. I get he's coming off an injury, but we're talking post-injury. He's back to feeling somewhat 100%. What kind of Aleem McNeil are you expecting to see, or do you want to see?
Yeah, absolutely. And then to the point, to the comments, absolutely right. He was never going to be ready for the Super Bowl. It's just put that to bed. He would never have been ready. He would have risked further injury. Dan Campbell would have never put him in that position. It would have never happened for Aiden Hutchinson. Now, moving forward with Aleem McNeil, yeah, your colleagues there are definitely finding these athletes all over town. It's good in regards to getting a quick update, but we really had already spoke to DJ Reader, and he had a funny comment. He's like, what do you think's going on with Aleem McNeil? The man's rich. He's very happy. He's working hard. And so that's all the players. And here's the thing. Players typically aren't going to walk up to any camera, especially with a bowl of popcorn, and be like, man, my rehab is going like crap. You know what I mean? They're always going to say, I'm working hard. I'm going to be strong as ever. It's the same comment over and over. So what more reporters like to get into is their mindset, who they talk to get back at it, what kind of work they do. It's all very similar in regards to he's working hard. I wouldn't expect him back before week, probably after the bye week. Nothing before the bye week, which is perfectly slated for the Detroit Lions. So hopefully he comes back. But most people, when you look at the nature of that injury, 2025, if you can get anything productive out of Aleem McNeil, is fine, but 2026 will be his true rebound year.
Doc, I want to ask you, OTAs, you're going to be there Friday. Can you give the people, I know you did an article about it, or someone in your company did an article on it, guys to watch out for. Can you give a couple guys when you're there Friday that you're going to keep an eye on, and let's say some storylines for fans and people to keep an eye on, not just this week, but I know next week they're going for 3 days as well. Are there specific guys that you're going to be looking at?
Well, Booner, being that you said something to me, being something that you said something to me on Monday that was intriguing, riled me up. I'm going to ask you this fair question.
What was that?
In regards to production, okay? I listened to the interview with Jason Kabinda, and right afterwards, you're able to pull up USA Today or my competitor and say, hey, look at this, and read the article to the people. When Doc comes on, you don't you leave me off of the list, including Jason Kabinda. Am I not worthy to be on the marquee with Jason Kabinda? And then it would appear to me that the stream that we're on, you could easily pull up my website and show the people the fine layout of this beautiful website and read some of these names. But since you chose not to produce the way you do for everybody else for the Doc, that's not a problem. Not a problem.
What is this, Doc? We use your articles all the time.
This is Boone, you just walked into an ambush.
Yeah, what is this? We use your no. We use your articles all the time. We pull your website up.
I'm talking about right now.
I'm asking you because you're on the show. I want to get straight from the source. I'm asking you. I don't want to pull it up. I want to ask you straight from the source, Doc.
Okay, but it is a fine article that was written today.
It was a great one. That's why I asked about it. Lines on SI.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Booner. I'm just wondering
about
that's right. You know what? When I ask you questions going forward, Doc, I'm not going to bring it back to the people I'm going to ask my own questions that have nothing to do with your articles then. Fair enough.
Listen, I think the chat said it perfectly. Be better, Booner. Produce at the highest level when the DOC's
We have never pulled an article up for anyone, Doc.
Oh, am I not special? Am I not drawing a lovely audience that's more than Jason?
You know what? Hey, Doc, I saw an article from another company, one of your rival companies, that was talking about players to watch out. Tim Twentyman, players to watch out for, and OTAs. I would want to know, hey, what are your players to watch out for these next few days, Doc?
Yes, no, in all seriousness, I am appreciative that you do check out the articles and highlight them. I'm just saying the production for me today, little different when maybe you have a star on. I'm just wondering, but I will answer the question. Lots of players, Booner, that we're excited to check out. First and foremost, Hendon Hooker. We want to see how the young quarterback looks out there. You want to see, has he progressed? How's his accuracy? How's the zip on the football? Kyle Allen, I want to see him compete and make it maybe a competition at training camp. So the quarterbacks, no doubt about it. The rookies, we all want to see Ahmed Hassanin, the beast out there, the guy that has drawn the attention of everybody, that the young defensive end. We want to see his development, his work out there, his individual drills, what he can do when he's battling the Lions offensive line. Lots of players. I think that is very intriguing for a lot is the offensive line. I think one of the most intriguing storylines is who's going to line up where. Is Tate Ratledge going to be at right guard? Is he going to take some snaps at center? Mahogany, where's he looking? If Frank Ragnow's there, how's he also looking? So a lot of players that are going to be very intriguing. But I think the one marquee guy that everybody I think wants to see is J-Mo. I want to see him fly. I want to see him at least on a couple reps, turn on the jets and do his check out his footwork, see how he looks out there at practice. So I'm excited to be out there, man. I even though some guys want to hang out on boats with their friends, I definitely am not going on vacation. I love doing these interviews. I love making fun of Booner, which is not that difficult anymore, but it's still fun to do and still get out there and cover the NFL, even though it's a long year and we're nearing the end before the 5-week break. But in the end, man, it's great. Friday football time, baby.
Boone, anything to say before I go?
No, I just want the Doc. Hey, Doc, put some tweets in your articles. Huh? Why don't you sometime? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Booner. I saw some things on Twitter. That's on me.
Actually,
Booner, joke around.
Booner. See, this is clear.
That was a joke. You know that was a joke.
I'm not going to talk to Booner because Booner did exactly what the person he referenced did when we had a little spat online today. Okay, there is an article on Lions on SI, and it is called First Look. Okay, which I probably can assume Booner did not check out because when you guys go click on it, chat, it features tweets from the established and the all-time great Crunch Time Sports.
Yeah, I already know. I opened every single one of your articles, Doc.
The great work you do. I don't need nobody to tell me who to reference. I said to my guy, "Hey, look for Booner. He does great work. Throw those tweets out there in my article." So I don't have to do that. And I just do it humbly because you guys are great.
Doc, you know I love you.
Did you read that article, Booner? That one?
I open all of your articles.
Yes or no?
Listen, Doc.
Yes
when there's news like that, this one I did not read. I opened it, so you got to hold on. I opened it, so you got to click. I opened it. Hold on. I opened it, so you got to click. I scrolled down. I don't read it because I already know the news. I know Hutch with I know it all, but I do open every day. Listen, I run socials. I open yours and I go through every single day at the end of every night. I'm looking at your articles, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Doc. Okay. I can confirm.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Boone, hey, Doc, Boone does go very heavy on Detroit Lions on SI all the time. He's like, hey, saw Doc wrote an article on this, puts in the show prep. So I can vouch for Boone, Doc. I can vouch for him. He's a good guy, okay? He's an earner for sure.
He's an earner. He's an earner.
But Doc, me and Boone, we did get, I wouldn't say in a big argument, but we had a discussion. I think it was a healthy discussion. I think as Detroit Lions fans, it's a good problem to have. And I know we spoke on Sam Laporta before, but now that we're seeing him 100% healthy in training camp, J-Mo, we're going to be out starting to see. Out of those two, who do you think is going to be that second leading receiver? Because I don't think there's going to be 3 1,000-yard wide receivers. I don't think Amon-Ra, Laporta, and J-Mo all go over 1,000. I think 2 of them are. I think it's going to be Laporta. Boone said J-Mo, and I believe that Jefe did as well. Who do you think between those two is going to have the more productive year when you're talking about yards?
Yeah, no doubt. It's an interesting question, right? I've been getting that question quite a bit. Who's going to be the productive receiver outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown? But to your point, Booner, real fast, to go back to it real fast, thank you for checking it out. But to me, you guys know, based on the history, I have a lot of readers. That's not the value of the click to me is not that. I'd like you to check out the words that are printed on the page and the videos that are there. So yes, clicking on the story is amazing. And I'm humbled that you would even consider me in the mix. But the value, the A++ value for me with you guys is if you actually read it, because I could be prone to mistakes. You guys do realize I'm checking out Haley McAnally in the morning, so I could make a mistake. You could read the story. You could
real
read
quick,
the words.
you waking your whole family up for that?
Text me if I make, hey, good article, Doc. Good job on this.
You're
Hey, you messed this up. You could have not put this in there. Or you say, hey, take this tweet out. We don't want that out. Listen, read to achieve for everybody. Now,
you know what? Going forward, Doc, I will read and I'll give you feedback if that's what you want. If that's what you want, I will do that as a friend, as a good friend of. I will do that for you.
Yes, please. Now we've worked through Jeff, who probably still not reading the articles. Now Booner, read the articles. Lukas, I'll test you in a couple weeks during the break. See if you're reading the articles. Yes,
fair game, Doc.
That means the most to the DOC. Getting back to the offense, I do think
the plane.
Yes, getting back to the offense, I do think J-Mo and Sam Laporta are the two guys that I think are just, it's hard to kind of look at and say, man, who's going to take the step forward again? Because both are really great players. I want them in the mix, as well as Jahmyr Gibbs. I love this offense. I just think that there's so many good mouths to feed. Amon-Ra clearly is going to get over 100 receptions, going to be the focal point. But this offense should really get back to Sam Laporta over the middle, because J-Mo is going to take the top off this defense. A lot of defenses. I expect him to get a lot of deep balls thrown his way. I expect the connection with Jared Goff to be stellar. So I'm expecting big things in that like 1,200-yard range for Jamison Williams. Sam Laporta, I just want him to be in that 800-yard range, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of red zone targets. I want J-Mo and St. Brown. I want J-Mo, St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs, that foursome, man, to just get after it. And then you can mix in Tesla and Patrick later in the year as more red zone targets later and more options. You just pick your poison, man. It's just great. I think if you can stack your fantasy football team with Lions, I see a lot of points scored, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of receptions, a lot of offensive stats that could be even record breaking this year. It's such a great staple to have that I even think that they're going to make John Morton look like an amazing play caller with what they're capable of this year. It's just continuity. There's a lot of great players on that. The biggest question mark will be how the offensive line holds up. And that will probably be where the biggest eyeballs are going to be looked at in training camp is what's that offensive line? How does that offensive line protect Jared Goff? Because if they do, look out. Nobody can stop the Lions.
Well, Doc, Jason Gabinda, when he talked about it today, when we asked him about it, but Jared Goff being an MVP candidate, he needs more respect, he noted. But in your opinion, with the new offensive coordinator and John Morton, do you think Jared Goff for this year, even with the new OC, is being slept on? Or do you still have maybe a little, I don't know if concern's the right word, but hesitancy to put him as one of the MVP favorites, but someone that could be in that MVP conversation again? Do you see a path with the new OC here?
Yeah, no, John Morton, I think, is going to be, and I think the first quarter of the season, we'll get a sense of that first 4 games, how he's going to call play, especially in the division. When you call games against the Packers and the Bears, you look at Jared Goff and you say, okay, he's going to work hand in hand with John Morton to be able to have some control of this offense. I do think there's going to be a renewed spirit when he has his kid. I know you guys were checking out those photos as well. You see a guy that's relaxed, that has the world at his feet, hanging out, golfing, hanging out on a baby moon with his significant other, ready for his life change to take place. So I think his world will change. I think he'll have a renewed perspective, renewed passion. Jared Goff, I think, is a guy that you always can count on to be a productive player. I see growth. I thought that he would have peaked. You know, that's the area where I said, okay, when you're 27, 28 years old, I didn't think he could get better. Jared Goff can get better in this offense with John Morton. I do think that this offense is going to put a lot of points on the board. John Morton is going to call a good game. And Jared Goff, I think what's interesting is that he wants more control. He's hungry. I asked a couple of the assistants at the last media session, what's kind of Goff's mindset? And right now it's laser focused. It's Super Bowl and that's it. You know, Mark Brunell typically is tight-lipped. He actually opened up and said Jared Goff is a singular focus kind of guy right now. He's done it all, and he's a guy that needs to win the Super Bowl. And I love to hear that kind of thing. And I think he's going to make John Morton that whole offense is going to make John Morton and Dan Campbell look super smart.
Hey, Doc, I want to ask you, what are your expectations over the next few weeks with these rookie, especially offensive lineman, Tate Ratledge? Where do you see him kind of fitting into this whole situation? Do you think by the time OTAs are over that they feel like, hey, maybe Tate is in that spot over Graham? Or, if you're there Friday, what are you going to be looking for in that battle? And Graham as well, obviously, and Christian Mahogany. I apologize for not mentioning those two.
Yeah. It's the offensive line is amazing. It's a fun group that I think is going to be real talented and provide some real competition, in my humble opinion. I think that Tate Ratledge eventually is going to get a nice opportunity potentially to start, but I have to go with the incumbent until I see what Tate Ratledge does against great defensive linemen. You got to look at it. Coaches love veterans, and I've always looked at it like, if they kept Glasgow on the roster, they didn't cut him. If they, give him the opportunity to compete and he's healthy, he's shown, propensities. He has lost a training camp battle before. So I'm going to be real curious to see how that looks. But Tate Ratledge, I want to see, does he get snaps at center? If Frank Ragnow's not there, is it at right guard? I do think that the versatility that Ratledge brings makes him really a good candidate to be the right guard. And maybe you put Mahogany at left, if that's the case, if they do beat out Graham Glasgow. But going into it right now, I just look at it like you start with the incumbents. I believe that going into training camp, my initial depth chart would be along the starting offensive line would be Taylor Decker, and right next to him is Graham Glasgow. The center is Frank Ragnow. The right guard is Christian Mahogany, and the right tackle is Penei Sewell. But Tate Ratledge is right there. He's got to find a spot to be a guard. And if he does, if he showcases what a lot of people think, because again, he's going to go up against Levi Onwuzurike. He's going to go up against very talented. Even the guys on lower on the depth chart have some skill. So I do think Tate Ratledge, and don't forget about Miles Frazier. Let's not sleep on him. We're going to get a chance to see Giovanni Manu and Dan Skipper and those guys competing for spots as well. So the offensive line competition is the key story for a lot of people, and something that I'm looking forward to seeing, the mixing and matching, who's where. And also, too, don't sleep on this name, an undrafted free agent who I've kind of gotten to know a little bit, his story and his background through relationships and learning about his time at North Dakota State. Mason Miller is a big physical offensive lineman. And while I don't think that he's going to potentially make the team, maybe he'll be on the practice squad, but I do think that the investment made in him could provide, keep that name in your Rolodex in a couple years, because he could be battling for a tackle spot to take Taylor Decker's job, because he's a big, physical, gritty, athletic offensive tackle, but he can play all 5 spots. But he's a natural tackle, and he's a big man, and he definitely stood out at rookie minicamp. But when you step up in competition, it's always going to be tough, and it's going to be an uphill climb for a lot of the undrafted free agents. But one to watch is Mason Miller. I definitely think he's got a lot to bring to the table, and if he's competitive and gets after it, look out, he could even make the team.
And now that we're talking about names like Mason Miller, Doc, the team is becoming a lot more like, you could see it. You could see the vision of the team. You can't see it obviously before the draft, and even after the draft. It's kind of hard to see how everything slots in. We're going to start seeing these players on the field all across the NFL, but specifically in the NFC North. Now that we're in the stage of going into OTAs, which team do you think is going to be most likely finishes last? Because Cabindo was talking about the Vikings could be really good, but you don't know. Obviously, the Bears, still the Chicago Bears, and the Packers, mad Matthew Golden, but I don't still see them as like a lock to be a threat. Which team do you think finishes dead last if you had to pick right now?
Yeah, if I had to pick right now, it's the Bears. F the Bears. I think that when you start the year with your quarterback causing a bunch of drama by being in a book and having your family talk all over the place, my goodness, what a distraction. They've made improvements, but if you tell me right now, I think J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson and the wideouts will develop a quick connection. I love what Jordan Love and Jaden Reed can potentially do with if they can stay healthy. Granted, that's always been a difficulty, and the Packers defense is always a question mark. But I look at the Bears and I say they've made improvements, but to the point that they've caught everybody else. And another great article that was put out today, another outlet, I wrote it from the 4-letter network that's super awesome, as well as Sports Illustrated. They put out their football power index. and they have the percentages. They ran the analytics. It's a big, geeky, thousands and thousands of simulations that kind of tells them where the Lions rank, and they look at the schedule. And so right now, as we speak, the Lions are 42% to win the NFC North in the FPI index, and they're the 4th best team in the National Football League, which you could have read on Lions on SI, fully detailed what was said in the FPI index. And what was said in that article, the last place team was probably still the Bears, where they're still considered an average team. They got work to do. It may take time for the offensive line to gel. Ben Johnson is a guy that's going to install a very detailed offense. It's going to be good in a couple years, but rookie tight ends take a little bit of time to develop. So at this point in time, just like I told the Bears reporters, I think Caleb Williams is overrated, and I think the Bears are going to be the last place team as we sit today. Why not say it? After the Bears, last place.
All right. Well, Doc, we can agree to disagree there, but let me ask you this: Mina Kimes, that was the hot article this week for you, Doc, with Mina Kimes mentioning how the other side of Hutch, there's still some concern there, and I understand why that's going to be one of the bigger storylines, because it was mentioned in that video in the article that Aiden Hutchinson led the team in sacks, even though he missed most of the year. What'd you think of what she said, and what do you think of kind of that narrative? And is there any, because my point was, I think Tyleek's going to help Aiden a lot, but is that fair to say, or do you think that should be something Lions fans should still be concerned about? And people nationally are not too far off by bringing it up constantly with the Lions.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because a lot of people have strong opinions on Miss Mina Kimes because of her Geno Smith love and her loyalty to the Seahawks. Look, everybody has great takes. Everybody has takes that they go, maybe not the best. So I look at it like, okay, I respect that she's on TV. She does a lot of things that are very well. She's very smart, very connected, relies on analytics. Some things I agree with her, some things I don't. This one was pretty fair in her analysis in that she says the Lions don't have that guy opposite of Aiden. But similarly to you guys, what you guys say too is not many teams have 2 all-world, all-pro defensive ends. But what the whole point of that thesis is that if the Lions can get pressure from the interior, which the Eagles were also stellar at, that helps the opposite end of Aiden, because what the complexion of a team looks like is, if you can clog the middle, if you can stop the run, you start at a point where you make a team one-dimensional. And what's most important is getting pressures. And what can help is the pressure. And I do think that Kelvin Shepherd is going to find creative ways to get pressure for this football team. And where we look at the question where people I see ask, and people will always say, okay, somebody here that's a host of this show says the Lions defensive line could be underrated. I can entertain that opinion that this defensive line is going to be probably more productive than what people expect. But the step where I take, and where Mina may say it as well, and many national pundits will agree, is this Lions team can probably get to the NFC title game and get to the Super Bowl. But at that final game, when you're facing the best other team in the league, we all saw, and this is where people go and they just get like blinders on and they just go, well, the Lions defensive line can be really good. They got this guy, this guy, this guy. I go, yeah, they're okay. But when the Eagles faced the Chiefs, they were able to dominate. They didn't just win, they dominated. They were able to knock Mahomes all over the place. They made Mahomes make silly throws that were out of character. At the highest level, you got to win your battles against another great offensive line when you're in the Super Bowl. So I think that's where I always look at it and say, the more talent you can acquire along the defensive line, the better, because the Eagles and Chiefs both had guys last year. The 2 guys that tied with the most sacks in the playoffs were, one guy on the Eagles had 4, and another on the Chiefs also had 4 sacks. So you need guys to produce at the highest levels at a time when you're producing. So I do think that there's still a chance that collectively this defensive line does well, but I have my doubts at the highest levels of football. Final 4, final 2, do they have enough to top a great offensive line? That'll be the question. I do believe they could add at the trade deadline, but sitting here today, my humble opinion, similar to Mina's, is that I would like a little bit. Okay, you don't. And so what people do is they take it to the extreme. Okay, you don't have to have another Aiden Hutchinson opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. What people say is maybe a little bit better than Marcus Davenport, who's a little bit injury prone, and a young defensive end who has no experience in regards to this level. Just a little bit better in between. You don't have to be an injury prone guy and a guy that's inexperienced. So that's where the valid complaints that fans have is super valid. And I've never once told a fan that said the Lions are deficient along the defensive line at defensive end that they're wrong, because you should always want more. You should always want an upgrade all over the place.
Yeah, Dak, I don't hate it. I know I put that tweet out there. But again, and then, the caveat in that tweet, hey, you add another piece like Za'Darius, or then that puts you at a different level to, like I said in the tweet, like a top 5 level to go win a Super Bowl. That puts you over the top in that spot. I do want to. That was literally the next question I did want to bring up to you. Was the Za'Darius Smith thing? He obviously isn't signed anywhere yet. I don't know if that's for a reason or not. If he's looking to come back. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's still a good chance that you see Za'Darius Smith with the Detroit Lions this offseason? I know it's OTAs, or is he just waiting until training camp to sign with a different team? Is it he's waiting for different deals? Like, what do you think's happening there with Za'Darius right now?
What I think's happening with Za'Darius? I think he's on the Stephon Diggs plan. I think he's on a boat and he's chilling, doing his thing. And he's got the cash. He's got the young lady on his arm. He don't want to hang out at Allen Park at this time of year. You've asked me this in a couple different ways, and I understand the love of Za'Darius Smith. I understand the topic. Lots of people have looked at different ways, and they keep circling around with Trey Hendrickson and they've circled back now to DeMarcus Walker from the Bears. There's been articles at publications saying the Lions should keep looking at him. They should say, look, Za'Darius, if the price is right and they match up a contract that he feels comfortable with, again, like I said before, he's got a lot of leverage. He wants to hang out. He's on the Aaron Rodgers plan as well. Hang out. You're a veteran. You don't want to work out. You don't want to work out in the team. You want to do your own thing. You want to wake up in your own bed and have some lady bring you some strawberries, put on your slippers, go outside in your warm, sunny state, whether it be he's got a great place in Florida and he's hanging out, working out, keeping in shape. If a player on a contender goes down, boom, he makes a couple more extra $1 million guaranteed. So he's going to sit back. If he signs during training camp, I would be surprised. I would say right around that third preseason game, you might start hearing the names of Za'Darius Smith. But before then, you can keep asking in a myriad of ways. And I'm going to keep telling you, maybe you guys are not in that party mindset. I am in the party mindset, as you can tell. Memorial Day, sunny day, drinks were flowing out by the water, enjoying the family. Hope you guys are not just working day and night. Hope you guys are spending some of the great YouTube money that you're making. Hopefully you guys are going out on the boats and hanging out and enjoying life, because as great as covering the NFL and doing these great interviews is, there's a whole other side of life that's just absolutely amazing in terms of hanging out with friends, drinking, doing the things that, are great in terms of making fun of your friends and laughing and learning and all that kind of stuff. These guys, at this point in time, it's work. It's truly work. So Za'Darius Smith is partying and and vacationing. I do not think that he is thinking about football at all, other than his standard need to work out 2 hours a day. He'll come back when he's ready. I think there's a good chance it could be with the Detroit Lions, but not before the middle of training camp, man. Come on. Why would you? There's no benefit. There's no benefit whatsoever. He's rich. He's famous. He's got a lot of intangibles that would allow him to not want to work.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.